So today's stream should be a short one. This is called AGA Responsible Gaming 2002 Education Month. The webinar will start in about 2 minutes. This is to educate people that gamble on how to gamble responsibly and what to do if you have a gambling problem. Welcome to AGA Responsible Gaming 2002 Education Month webinar. It's okay. It's a webinar. It's perfectly fine. I'm streaming it from my phone from the other phone. See when I see it one night. It's not really a big screen. It might be very boring, so if it turns out to be very boring, I'll end the stream. It might be interesting, you never know. All I know is like it's hard to do with two phones like this. Especially when people are messaging me from Facebook. Huh. People were messaging me from Facebook. Yeah, I had to change the title. Let's see. Do I have something to hold this with? I bet you I do. I do have that thing. Hopefully. I was gonna use that, but I hate doing screen from screen like this. It's very annoying. These things always take some time to like load up. You know what a webinar is? It's they talk about Responsible Gaming Education Month at the AGA, American Gaming Association. Oh, this tripod will work out pretty good. Oh my god, what's going on here? Yeah, the Silver Moon one, that was just a random video. Like, how many thumbs up, thumbs down I got on that? That's crazy. These things are never on time. They said 2 o'clock precisely. They said 2 o'clock precisely, but I don't see it. I don't see it going on 2 o'clock. So with a webinar, it's not like how it is with Zoom. It's pretty much people talking. There we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to have you all with us today. I'm Kate DeBon, Vice President of Strategic Communications and Responsibility at the American Gaming Association. And I'm excited to kick off our first ever Responsible Gaming Education Month webinar with this esteemed group of speakers today. By expanding our traditional RG week to a full month in September, we've created an extended opportunity to highlight our industry's responsible leadership while continuing to strengthen our education through events like today's important conversation. As you all well know, empowering customers to play responsibly is essential to building a sustainable industry. And we've seen a lot of growth over the last few years and evolution of who we are and what we do. So the discussion and activity around responsible gaming is becoming more and more important, and the prioritization of it is clear. Today, we're going to talk about the state of the industry in terms of responsible gaming, the player protections the legal market provides, and a path to a sustainable future. I'm delighted to have three leaders with us today who have joined us for this conversation to share their thoughts. Let me briefly introduce them. We have Anika Howard, President and CEO of Wonder Nation, from the Mashantucket Tribal Nations online gaming company. Shane Leshkari of New Jersey Division of Gaming Enforcement, who helped establish the state's regulatory framework for sports betting and oversees testing of all electronic gaming equipment approved in the state. And last but not least, Mark Vanderlinden, Director of Research and Responsible Gaming for the Massachusetts Gaming Council. Mark leads an active research agenda for the Commission, including RG, gambling disorders, and the social impact of gaming, among many other priorities. So welcome to our panelists. I'm going to moderate for the bulk of the conversation today, and then if we have time, bring in some audience questions, which you can put in the sidebar for review. So let's get to it. Let's start with an open question. How would you describe the state of responsible gaming today? And as the industry evolves and the gaming environment evolves, what are the two biggest challenges or opportunities we face when it comes to RG? So let us start with Anika.
Well, first and foremost, good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad to be sharing the panel with all of these wonderful people. So when I think about responsible gaming, I really see it as being at the forefront of the industry, especially with all of the expansion. So when you look, and most suppliers, essentially all suppliers and manufacturers have policies, procedures around responsible gaming. And it really is a joint effort. So it's not just the suppliers and the operators, but independent organizations, nonprofit advocacy groups, researchers, state regulators, all really kind of working together with the goal of reducing problem gambling and been really spreading the message, because I think collectively we've learned and seen in other more mature markets that just responsible gaming, sustainable play is good business and good stewardship. For me, I think the biggest opportunity or biggest challenge I see facing the gaming industry really comes with how consumer behaviors and players are changing. When I think about what's happened over the past 3 years and the expansion of gaming, I'm really looking at it from a technology standpoint and seeing not just that, but how players and how people in general are consuming media and consuming technology at a very different and growing rate. So some statistics that I have been able to pull, media consumption, for example, for U.S. adults continues to grow. And on average, I think the last time I saw it was about 4.5 hours a day that on average we spend on our mobile devices. And I think we've all, from COVID, have fallen victim to this idea of death scrolling through social media or through online. And so when you look at this combined with by next year, about 35% of all of media consumption is going to happen on mobile devices, we see that there's definitely a need to shift the way we communicate and talk about responsible gaming. And because customer behaviors are changing, I think some of the things that we need to do is really align the messaging and the tools that we give players with how those behaviors are changing. And a lot of these are still very traditional kind of 1-800 numbers. So what are the things that we can do differently to just make sure that we meet people where they are?
That's so right. I think technology has been a huge driver of the evolution of RG the last few years, and I'm interested to see where that's going to go. And I think, Shane, you have been leading an effort around this, so I'd love to hear your thoughts generally about the state of responsible gaming, and then specifically how technology has helped.
No, I just want to start off by echoing what Anika said, which is it's an honor to be here with everyone. I think it's a really important topic, and I do appreciate you putting this together, Kate, for everyone, because it's something that, when it comes to responsible gaming, one of the biggest aspects of it is education, and doing things like this go a long way. And I do love the fact that you guys extended the Responsible Gaming Education Week to Responsible Gaming Education Month. I think all those things matter. I'm sure we'll discuss that later. But so I just wanted to echo those same sentiments that Anika mentioned. But to ultimately answer the question, I think we're at a really critical point. I think the key word for me when it comes to the state that we're in is critical. And the reason why I say that is because we all have the same common goal. All the industry stakeholders, operators, regulators, we all have the same common goal, which is essentially to make sure that we continue this sustainable industry. And in my opinion, one of the big critical success factors in sustaining that is responsible gaming. And so to that note, a big opportunity, the way we looked at it, was using and leveraging technology to help the operators potentially identify at-risk patrons. And that's a real key opportunity, because it's a situation where what we wanted to develop was something where the operators have the ability now to leverage all the data that they're collecting. Anika brought up a great point. Everyone is on their devices all of the time now. And everything that these patrons do is obviously being recorded by the operators. What pages you access, the amount of time you spend online, all of these things are being recorded. So we want to take advantage of that and utilize that information to essentially try to develop an early warning system for these operators. And so what they can then do is build upon these triggers that we recommended, these generated triggers based on play activity or account activity, all things that we can go into more detail in a little bit. But ultimately use those triggers to help them identify potential at-risk patrons. And that's why we feel that this is a critical moment, because as the industry is flourishing, we just want to make sure that everyone still stays focused on one of the key critical success factors, which is responsible gaming.
That's great. How is your thinking about
Oh. Well. Oh, robot. Oh.
Is make recommendations on different features that they can implement, the operators can implement, that will enhance the responsible gaming features. And us at the division, what we do is we take those recommendations very seriously, and then we work with the operators to implement those changes. And every single year we've gone to the operators to implement those changes. They've always understood the importance of it, and they've always implemented those changes. So it's great for us to see that, because we can see that we're all partners in this same common goal of stressing the importance of responsible gaming. And so we've been fortunate enough with the operators we've been dealing with that they understand that fully, and they've invested a lot in terms of development in the past, and they continue to invest a lot, obviously, with the RG best practices that we're coming out with.
That's great to hear. Mark, I'd love to hear your perspective on this. I know Massachusetts has been kind of forward in their responsible gaming protocols and requirements, and obviously I had a great conversation earlier this week about responsible gaming as it relates to sports betting and the growing market there. So would love to hear your perspective.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kate. Thanks to the AGA for sponsoring this. Responsible gaming is nothing new. It's been around for decades now, right? Undoubtedly, the conversation, priorities, what we know has evolved, especially I think within the past 10 years. And I like to think that one of the key pieces of that is, as Shane said, we can kind of coalesce around a shared goal, a sustainable industry. What does a sustainable industry means? How do we hold what does accountability mean? What does social responsibility mean? These are all things that it's not only important to me as a regulator, it's important to our operators in the state. And I think that, and increasingly so, our customers are aware that these are priorities that they think about when they choose where they want to go and how they want to spend their money. I think that has been an important piece of this. I think that responsible gaming has also become much more, rather than
Skipping.
Let's focus.
Come on. Sorry.
What tools do people need?
When they do the webinar, that's what happens.
To have in order to stay in this safe sort of recreational zone. And I want to say that we're making strides, but we're a long ways from achieving this. That we're beginning to collect data that can inform this. Inform what safe levels of play look like. Inform what does healthy gambling look like, and begin to even dive down further in understanding what do we need to address with specific demographics of people or customers coming to our casino. What information do they need about gambling literacy or pre-commitment in order to help them stay in a safer level of gambling? So there's a long ways to go. The state of gambling in this country, in this world, continues to change. It's ever evolving, and I think that's out of necessity for the gaming industry. It's really hard to keep up, honestly. But I think, especially if we're on the same page, we can create some and do some really interesting work.
That's been interesting for me. I joined the AGA in 2019, and the growth, the evolution of the state of legal play in that time, and then responsibility layered on top of that has just been tremendous. And I've been impressed by, throughout that period, how collaboration has been so core to the success of those conversations and progress, that regulators and operators can work together and identify the best way to implement something, and that advocates and the industry can have conversations that are real and productive, and not so focused on what one party wants. That speaks to the underlying goal that you all kind of reinforced around continuing to build a sustainable industry.
May I add, Kate, responsible gaming isn't a threat to the industry. And having conversations about providing different types of player protections and tools and resources, I think that the conversation has changed from one where it's seen as by the industry with a lot of skepticism to one where I think the industry sees that these are a great benefit overall to the industry. You know, they know their customers and they know what they want, and they're speaking about this.
That's exactly right. So, one major benefit of the legal market to that point is the emphasis on consumer protection and responsible gaming. We also know that illegal operators, something the AGA is quite focused on, especially with the growth of legal gaming. They don't care about RG. They don't provide any training, any tools or resources to players. So let's talk about the intersection of the illegal market, responsible gaming, and how legal operators kind of shift that conversation. Shane, we're just talking about the new protocols in New Jersey, the best practices that you're kind of putting in place around automatic triggers and other kind of resources for this space. How is that change enabled by technology? I think that's been an interesting piece of this, how responsible gaming has evolved as we've gone from brick and mortar to online, and I'll be curious to see how we evolve that backwards too. So I'd love to hear how technology is helping that.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and just I think Mark brought up some great points to hit on that. It really becomes about being proactive in this process. And to his point, you have that small percentage, 1 to 2% of the at-risk patrons, but we need to find a way of trying to educate them and letting them know what's available as far as the responsible gaming features, what's as far as help resources, what's available. And I think that was a great point. And I think that was part of our goal when we were creating these generated triggers, these system generated triggers, was based on all of the information that was being collected, it would be able to easier identify a patron that could potentially be at risk and then educate them on here are all the different features that are available. So what our thought process is, as we mentioned before, knowing that the way their technology stack was built and that they were going to be recording all of these different metrics that were going to be available, whether it's the deposits, the time of play, how long you've been online, whether it was you access this page. We basically wanted to break it down to two main categories. And we broke it down to the play behavior versus account activity. And we took each subsection, so for example, play activity, and knowing that their technology stack was going to essentially store all this information on, here's how often Shane deposits, here is his average deposit amount. Here are the scenarios where for the previous week, Shane's average bet amount was this, but now we're starting to notice that it's creeping up a little bit more. We're noticing that every single time that Shane wagers or starts a session, he continues wagering until there's no funds left. Now, again, there could be some good reasons for that. It could be because the patron was doing really well, hit for a lot of major jackpots, and he wanted to cash it all out. But it gives the operator the opportunity to go through and actually evaluate my session, my play. But wait a minute, is that really what's happening with Shane's activity? Or is it every time he's depositing, he's wagering, it's not even that he's winning, he's just continuously playing and playing and playing until there's no funds left. From that perspective, again, the key being we
Sounds like somebody I know.
they had was going to be storing all this information. Then we said, okay, well, that's the play behavior. But what other items do we know that the technology stack is storing that we can use to our advantage? That's where we then focused on the account activity. So we wanted to really focus on, are there scenarios where if, for example, Shane goes on a cool-off period or a timeout, and then as soon as he comes off the timeout, within a reasonable time, a couple days after, maybe a week or two after, he puts himself back on. Well, that could be an indicator of, well, we might have a little bit of an at-risk potential patron here, so let's look into that. Or the scenarios of, well, we're noticing that Shane's doing a lot of canceled withdrawals. Every single time he goes to withdraw some funds, he's canceling them, and then he's going to go and start wagering them again until he has no funds left. Things along those lines. Or maybe you go to the self-exclusion page and then you wanted to self-exclude from online gaming, but then as you went through the process, you left the page and you didn't complete that page. But again, knowing that the key was their technology stack was going to be storing all this information, we took those two broad categories, play behavior and account activity, and we trimmed it down to what we thought would be really critical in developing a quote-unquote early warning system.
It's
so
not for
that
me. It's for the people that
have the
it's for the
operators
people
be in a
that are not
position where
responsible
maybe
gamers.
based on their due diligence as they look
I
at
just
these
like
automated
listening to
triggers,
this.
they'd be able to identify, are there certain individuals that we need to reach out to? And that's the key. One part of it was going to be implementing these generated triggers, the system triggers, but the other key piece, which is just as important, is what they do with that information in a timely manner. And that's where we then want to focus on the operators having an RG dedicated team that would ultimately be reviewing this data. It's one thing to have the data, it's another thing to do something productive with the data. And so we wanted to mandate there'd be an RG dedicated team that would go through this data, and after their due diligence, if they were able to identify certain patrons could use a little bit more education in terms of what responsible gaming features are available, they would be able to reach out to them. And so that was really the vision of how we wanted to utilize their technology stack to get us to the end game of, to Mark's point, how do we proactively reach out to these patrons?
That's great. It's this year I've had the opportunity as we've come out of the pandemic. I have a lot of RG contacts within our member companies, and oftentimes just the one person in charge who oversees RG. And with some of the conferences this year, I've been able to meet the depth of the bench they have, and to see kind of how passionate those folks are about creating an environment where players are having fun and keeping it fun has been really eye-opening and rewarding.
And it goes back to what you had mentioned before, where the key is the collaboration. Everyone needs to collaborate together, because ultimately, as everyone works together, is when you're going to be able to create that ideal model, as opposed to one entity thinking they're just the expert in this field. But using everyone's resources together is what's going to get us to that ideal model. Then, and just using everyone's input, because people have different experience in different areas, different jurisdictions that they may be able to provide guidance on.
Anika,
Yeah,
as you've been building responsible gaming, what does that look like? How are you building it into the company?
No, and so it's good. So I want to echo some things that both Shane and Mark brought to the forefront. So there's always an opportunity to do more. And so beyond the technology that can be embedded into the app, we're doing a lot to work directly with the local nonprofits in our area and treatment centers to really understand what the specific needs and goals are, and really focus on the idea of, once again, collaboration keeps on coming up, but having and creating custom messaging and reaching and training different audiences. So some of the feedback we receive, for example, are that, especially, and this is specific to Connecticut, but I think it has broad applicability across other regions, that in each of the different regions, whether it's socioeconomic, ethnic groups, or just kind of different motivations, everyone has slightly different motivations and triggers. And so really, in many cases, looking beyond the standard one-size-fits-all messaging, and how do we work with all these treatment centers to customize the message on so that the right message for prevention, for education, for awareness is given to that right segment in a way that they can understand. So some of it may be as easy as having bilingual messaging or having things in multiple languages. Other things may be, very specific in terms of research that they've done with behavioral psychologists to say that this segment, these are the reasons that they're playing. These are the reasons that they might start developing some type of compulsive behaviors. And here are the types of messaging that might work best for them. So a lot of it is really to the point of, we're at this place where everyone, I think, is unified and wanting the same thing. And so how do you do more than can write a check, and what are the things that you can work with and collaborate and understand causation, in addition to having that technology. So a big portion of what we're focusing on the prevention education.
That's a little bit of the webinar.
Mark, you, as we've been looking at advertising this year,
I'm gonna talk about more of it later on, or tomorrow.
Impact them. So would love to hear as you're thinking about
It's very interesting, but
building this in Massachusetts and what you've learned from the
I only had like
industries,
30 minutes
what
to
are
do
you
this,
hearing
so
from the public? What are you addressing and
they're
thinking
just pretty
about
much
as you
discussing
build out these regulations?
the state of regular
Yeah.
gaming
This is a
responsibility
really
and
good
player
start. I think
protection.
this is a
Pretty
very
much,
complicated issue
um,
to try to get our arms around, especially our
guy
owners
gambling
as a
problem, not me.
regulator getting our arms around this because it extends far beyond our
Pretty much just talking about the people that are, that.
with in the state.
What's your trigger? I don't
But
know.
it's certainly an issue that is garnering increasing attention.
I don't know what my trigger is, but I haven't got to that point yet.
So,
They're talking about pretty much the hardcore gamblers, the ones that, you know, win on a slot machine and keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. You know,
so I'm painting kind of a
the ones that are like,
because
that
it is so
never
complex.
satisfied.
We're trying to kind of figure out our path forward on this. We do know some things. We do know that there's a lot of attention on it, and there's a lot of concern expressed by the general public. In Massachusetts, you know, even in advance of sports wagering being legalized or a law passing on.
so the one of the guys that's talking,
being raised. We have done some
He is a guy-
research that
he's the guy you talk to.
attention to the role of
He's the guy you talk to,
creating gambling related harm
for to get permission to film in New Jersey. He's part of the gaming association.
Populations.
He, he's in
Once
the
we
gaming
have that
office there.
research in hand, we have a role, we have an obligation. to
Oh
do
yeah,
something
yeah, not me.
research. You know, perhaps it's
Not me.
doing
You
more
see,
research. Perhaps it's just trying to.
you
say,
see,
this is
Josh
not
hit the
gonna
grand
be
on the Locker Link last night. That was
What else do
awesome.
we need to know? What more research do we need to do? So
Josh saw the hog hit
in
that
addition
grand.
to having some research under our belt that sort of sheds light on this issue, we're doing
I don't know.
added to our research agenda in Massachusetts another study that should be delivered by mid next year that will hopefully provide.
You gotta watch it.
some
Rewatch the stream. It was amazing.
To kind of hold on to. We've received a lot of public comment.
10 cent, $10 bet.
To support the commission's efforts in beginning to address this in a meaningful way, both in terms of our existing regulations as well as sports wagering.
I can't wait till Vegas now.
That are coming around. Some
Tired of
of this
working.
is outlined and organized in a white paper that the Massachusetts.
Yeah, Josh hit the grand. It was like
Um,
over 13,000, but they were doing it as a group pool last night.
Within that white paper are a
So that was pretty good.
considerations for the commission to consider as we're
Oh shit! It was on the Locker Link.
regulations
Huh,
that would
It was on the Locker Link Heart game.
don't provide misleading information in your advertising. Don't market underage, but it's also, you know, what are the measures that what's the recourse if somebody is concerned, what do they
Tell
do?
you, Josh is such an amazing creator and an amazing person.
A training
He's so real.
operators
It's not,
within
you know,
the
it's
state of
it's
Massachusetts,
awesome.
about advertising about higher risk populations. And it kind of goes back to this. I want to backtrack to. I think that the industry is aware of this as well.
I
And,
like these seminars. They sound pretty good.
I think it's trying to figure out how do we all get on the same page for this. We'll write regulations that can address some
Oh.
of this, and I don't anticipate that.
I'm just tired today.
Controversy around what those regulations will look like.
I'm tired.
But it's the
Tired
what-
today. Work's been
where
really
do we
tough.
not have control? What's happening with the illegal market and how they're trying to jump ahead? What's happening kind of at national advertising level that kind of escapes any state?
That's awesome.
These are the complicated issues, and I really hope that at a certain point, organized by the AGA or some other body, where we can sit down and figure out what some of the ground rules are on advertising that we can all get behind. Much like responsible gaming in general, where I think
Yeah.
that we've seen this evolve from some really good ideas to more of a science more of the science that is accomplishing good things.
Yeah, the advertising issue is, I think, one of the
The
places where
webinar is boring. I know.
there's so many different issues to address, right? It's
American
about making sure we can be
Gaming
competitive
Association.
with the illegal market. You have to make sure that you're not causing harm via advertising. You need to make sure that there's research into whether that is a thing that happens and how does it happen. And so it's a place of a lot of conversation and a place where a lot more knowledge sharing and research needs to happen. And I think this is such a unique market when you look at the global space.
Have a
there's
safe
also
flight,
questions around
Josie.
The US versus the UK versus other more mature.
What time are you gonna go live tonight so I can watch you on my
It's
break?
not necessarily apples to oranges. There's common threads, but
They are looking to help the problem gamblers. That's why they have the responsibility of gaming.
in order to make
I get these emails all the time.
operate in a responsible
Oh,
manner.
just to tell you,
I don't know if anybody wants to add in there.
Yeah,
just to tell you, like I will be in the Richard Crap stand at G2 this year.
It came up in a responsible gaming roundtable that you were a part of on Tuesday that the Gaming Commission hosted. Is that there was a lot that came up around advertising. One thing that I thought was a good idea. Advertising oftentimes has the list of helpline numbers, and certainly there would be great movement towards having one helpline number that's easy to understand so people can get help. But there's
That was
also,
pretty interesting.
It would be great if there was responsible gaming advertising that stood alone, that kind of balanced out the advertising that exists,
Thank you, Ross. You'll never watch my live.
other points.
That's two issues I've spent a lot of time.
I watch your
thinking about over the last
repeats,
few years.
but
I know everyone
usually when you go live, I'm like working late.
and it should be-
Not on purpose.
with 1-800-GAMBLER.
Just like, I work
we're seeing
late.
Great progress.
But if you go live tonight,
there's a
whatever
lot of
time
things
it
that
is,
happen in that space. That could be a whole
if I'm on my break or
later this month
or
at our second RG webinar. And then
if I'm on my break, whatever,
I think we're starting to
I'll
see
try to
more
catch
folks
you either
lean into
live
that.
or
We have
hit
at the AGA,
watch the repeat.
That responsibly campaign, we're bringing a lot of folks on board with that, but operators are also taking. We spent a lot of time on Tuesday talking about DraftKings' new campaign with Tony Hawk, and I think we're going to see more and more of that because operators understand, the critical importance.
Okay, enough of that. Anyway, gotta go. Thanks for watching this AGA What's Called stream. I will talk to you guys later on. Thanks for watching. And I got 15 more days. I got 15 more days of doing the short videos to see if I see how many views I could make by the end of September. That's my challenge. I challenge myself between my shorts and my live streams and my regular videos to see how good I could do from September 1st to October 1st. That was my challenge to myself. And if anybody else wants to do that, videos versus shorts, you could definitely do it. I mean, it's a lot of work, but it's fun. So anyway, gotta go right now. See you guys later. Thanks for watching AGA Responsible Gaming on Ross Says What Variety channel. And I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching.